All right, infernal greetings, infernal blessings to all. Welcome to this bonus class dealing with the dark side versus the light side. Well, just to get it started, sometimes just from analyzing, people misinterpret what the dark side is, and even people who walk in the dark side sometimes misinterpret it still. So I'm going to start by saying what the dark side isn't, as opposed to what people think it is. Dark side is not a place to come and that you use to enable your BS. What do I mean by that? Sometimes people come into the dark side and they think that they're going to mask or hide themselves in the dark side and let their BS that's dominated, ruled their life, controlled their life, pretty much all their life, and use the dark side as an excuse to continue the BS. If you come into the dark side with that mentality, you're in trouble. Let me tell you why. The dark side exposes who you are as opposed to who you think you are. Let me say that again. The dark side exposes who you are as opposed to who you think you are. Well, as the light side, you're able to mask yourself in that world because the world is mostly blinded by the false light. And therefore, it's easy to put on any mask you choose to wear in the light side and get away with it. That is what people sometimes do when they come into the left-hand path or the dark side. They think they're going to continue promoting that false image. Well, the dark side is a very powerful force, powerful energy. For example, one of the things the dark side does is expose the lies you've been telling yourself. Well, how does it do that? Well, as we know in this class and other classes we've been in, the dark side and the rituals you do, much of it is facing your shadow. But the darkness is predating the shadow. See, the shadow, when you think of a shadow is really a reflection of light that casts a shadow in a certain area, particular area. So are you a reflection of light? So when people come with this nonsense, oh, I'm doing shadow work. If you go by the definition of or understanding of what shadow work is, according to what it's become in the mainstream conscious and spiritual and magical groups, then what you're doing is nothing more than touching upon a darker aspect of the light side you've always been. When you go truly into the dark side, all of that disappears and all that's left is you facing yourself and all the parts of yourself that you refuse to totally encounter, to awaken to the reality of that existing within you, and then doing something about it. Unfortunately, most people, they bring up where their issue began, and then they focus on, okay, it's existing in my life, but then they stop right there. What are you doing once those two things have occurred? One, you identify the issue. Two, the origin of the issue. Now, three is the most important part of this three-step process. That is taking action. Well, you may ask, how do I take action when it comes to my issues? And I would say, first, after you identify the issue, two, as you identify the issue, you start to see how that issue has affected your life. Three, the best and most potent way to deal with your issue is after the ritual. Meaning, you can do a ritual and it will help you go further in your subconscious and even tap into your unconscious. But it's in the moments, the waking moments of your life, what you're doing in the waking moments, that determine how effective your shadow work is, how effective your ritual has been. So if you react to a trigger and you react the same way every time, and then you do ritual and you still react the same way, guess what? You still got more work to do in that darkness. You have to go further inside yourself because there's something you're missing about yourself that you refuse to either one, acknowledge, or two, can't put your finger on why it keeps occurring. So you being triggered and reacting to it is a sign that progression is not happening. It's a stagnation is where you're at. When a ritual really takes hold and then you are faced with a situation in real life, it is at that moment that you really can determine how effective your shadow work has been. If you're an angry person and every time somebody challenges you, you react with anger, not just anger, but you belittle the person, you degrade the person, then your shadow work is not totally effective yet. Because that barometer is that physical situation that's taken place that you're able to say, I finally didn't react to the trigger. Which means you understand where the trigger came from because you understand where the root of the problem began. And now you're more cognizant of that trigger and where it comes from so that you have more control over the situation. So as like Demetrius was saying earlier, storms are a perfect catalyst to produce energy. See, humans like to think they're hardcore, but when they're faced with chaos, with tragedy, with death, catastrophes, they become, or their weaknesses are revealed. Case in point, what's happening in the current climate of this planet. You can see how weak people are. You can see how easily they're manipulated. You can see how mentally they're controlled. So where is the growth? Where is the growth? There was a question posed to an individual who some would consider him a master at that time. The question was posed, what is the real self? He said the real self is that part of yourself that you've long forgotten or not acknowledged, that comes into your focus and you gain control over it and you know how to best use it. And when you become that individual, the power you possess, self-mastery, is the threat to society. It's not group mentality. It's not a herd or a cattle or a group of sheep people. That's not a threat. You protesting with 100,000 other people is not a threat to them. They have something for that. They can easily destroy you from protesting. The only reason they keep letting people protest is because it keeps that false illusion that you're changing something, which you ain't. The false illusion is what keeps people feeling like they're doing something. But when you're really doing something is when you gain mastery over self. Because then at that moment, the powers that be can no longer control your mind, can no longer influence you and can no longer bring you right back to where you were. See, a lot of people wake up, we're in this so-called woke culture right now. To me, that's a lot of bullshit, a lot of it, because as woke as some of these people claim to be, is as quick they fall right back under the sheeple mentality. To be woke means exactly that. To be awake and aware of everything, even the games that are being played, so that you don't fall right back under the spell. The spell of mind control, spell of group and mass mind control. This is why in darkness, you find yourself, because in darkness, the distractions of the light world or the waking world are less. The hum, the vibration and frequencies of the day, the chaotic day, dies at night. And this is the reason why they keep you working long hours. And when you come home, you have little time for yourself, is because the more I keep your mind in a state of agitation, in a state of distraction, the less you will listen to the voice within. See, they know that a lot of people work 8 to 4, 8 to 6, 9 to 5, 9, whatever. By the time you come home, you either cook, clean, shower, whatever. And then you pretty much got to go to sleep to get back up in the morning to do the same routine over and over again. They know that the less time you have to sit there in darkness and being still is the less you will wake up to your true self. Because when you sit in total darkness and just listen, not hear. Most people hear, they don't listen. Hearing is any little sound vibration or anything you pick up, that's hearing. I can hear a person talking, but does that mean I'm listening? When people tell me, oh, I listened to you, and then I ask them, they have no answer for what I said or can't repeat what I said, I know they were just hearing me. They weren't listening. And what I think about when people are just hearing is that Charlie Brown cartoons, when the teachers are speaking, all hear wah, 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 wah. That's how a lot of people actually so-called listen to, but they don't. All they hear is wah, 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 wah. Why? Because if you're that voice of reasoning that makes them face themselves, they're going to tune you out eventually if they're not ready. They're not ready to face their own BS. So when you sit there alone, in quiet, in darkness, you start hearing all this stuff about yourself that you don't like. You start thinking about all the things or all the BS or all the excuses or all the lazy ways that you have prevented yourself from growing, from transforming, from changing, from whatever the case may be. They know this. So why not keep you in a state of constant chaos, state of flux, state of confusion? Because they know a true master, all the masters who go into darkness and truly master themselves, that state of chaos doesn't affect us. We can see right through the BS and feed off of the chaos to only empower ourselves, to only strengthen ourselves. In science, 96% of the universe, 96% of the universe is dark energy, dark matter. 73% dark energy, 23% dark matter, which leaves only 4% of what would be considered light. Yet the world over worships 4% of this known so-called universe out of many multiverses. The world is convinced to worship a light that can never be equal to darkness and can never overtake darkness or can ever blind you in that darkness. See, if I keep that fact in my mind, then you start to wake up to the fact that, well, damn, when people say God is light, God is love, that's a fucking illusion. Because light is, by science, less than darkness. This universe and multiverses sits in darkness. You were born in darkness. If you go to the book, The Black Ship, we were birthed in the black hole. And we are the demons that manifested from that black hole and seeded life across this universe and multiverses. But it all began in a black hole. You are that. Therefore, how do I control you? Make you afraid of the dark? By creating horror movies to freak you out about the dark. Constantly bombarding you with horror movies, right? But what people miss is that in those horror movies, they're telling you a lot of truth. But they dramatize it so much, Hollywoodize it, like I'd like to say, so that you don't really pay attention to the truth that's being dropped in there. Darkness is being able to tap into your own power, because we all possess it. Your own power to create your existence how you see fit. The light is convincing you this is how life is, and this is how you should run your life within this border boundaries and limitations that were created for you. See, almost all of us have borders, boundaries, and limitations, but on your journey, the goal of the left-hand path, the goal of darkness is to bypass or break free from your borders, boundaries, and limitations. The problem with that is as much as you break free from that border, boundary, and limitation is as much as you create a new border, boundary, and limitation to keep you stuck right within person, place, or thing. Now you may ask, well, damn, what is outside a person, place, or thing? That's you. You have to determine that. As you go deeper into darkness, you start to understand how person, place, or thing has been used to keep you within a box, has been used to confine and control your mind. So you limit your potential. You limit what you can do. So therefore, everything you do is based upon that person, place, or thing. Well, there's some people in this class this evening who are proving by using the power of their mind that that is not so. They're proving that you have the power just with your mind to move objects. That's not just in Hollywood. That's just not sci-fi. That's not special effects. It's actually possible to do with your mind. The problem is we limit our minds. We think, oh, that's just in the movies. Oh, that's not real. How did that begin? Programming, social conditioning. Your parents basically stole your imagination from you when you had an imaginary friend, because a lot of us did in this class. And they told you, stop talking, there's no one there. Put the childhood things alone. Leave that stuff alone. That's not real. Yes, it was. You had a real friend. You were tapping into the spirit world long before they shut that down for you. You tapped into that world and they took it and shut it down for you because they made it seem that's childish. That's not real. That doesn't exist. You see how your power has been destroyed? By the visual light spectrum called movies, TV, shows, commercials, so on and so forth. They F up your mind. Social media, so on and so forth. They mess up your mind. They bombard you constantly with things that you can't do and things that maybe it's possible, but they don't give you the science on how to actually do that. They don't let you understand how you really do have the power to achieve any goal you desire. But what is your mind? How is your mindset? See, a light side mindset is a fixed mindset. What do I mean by a fixed mindset? It's fixed by person, place, or thing. It's fixed by borders, boundaries, and limitations. And therefore, you always keep yourself within these boxes. The darkness has no borders, boundaries, and limitations. Anything is possible in darkness. But the problem is we're so convinced we need the light to project into the darkness to see what we're doing that we lost the gift to turn on our inner awareness to be able to see in darkness, to be able to create in darkness. So therefore, we're always feeling like we need a flashlight, or I need a light here, or I need a TV, or I need this or that or that. So the dark side has become associated with heinous, disgusting, debauchery, murder, kill, all these things, and so on and so forth. Listen, just as many deaths occur during the day as they do at night. Okay? Some of the most heinous crimes occur during the day as much as at night. So the dark and light really, in that perspective, how they project into this world has nothing to do with dark or light. Shit happens, it's gonna happen regardless what time of the day it is. The point of this dark side and light side, what we're discussing now, is how darkness has been made to seem evil to you. How it's been made to not only seem evil, but create fear in you so that you're limited in reaching your power and potential. Yet for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, sorcerers, witches, magicians, whatever you want to call them, most of the rituals and ceremonies were always usually done in the dark. They usually took place in the dark because that is when the powers were heightened, because there was less distraction from the chaos of the day. There was the ability to tap in to that world that exists parallel to this one. Some call it the death world. Some call it the afterlife, which is a thin veil that separates this world from that world. A very thin veil. If I keep you away from that world, then I can control your mind more, because that world, there's many spirits there that are willing and ready to give you gnosis. They're ready to teach you some serious sciences that will propel you. So, as we journey in the dark side on the left-hand path, things on the light side are less relevant to us. What do I mean by that? Well, secret societies become less relevant to us. Why? Because we realize as much as people want to keep that alive, we realize it's really not as relevant as people think it is to my personal development and growth. It's not really as relevant as it is to my self-mastery. Mastering yourself is essential. All this extra hodgepodge they give you is all a distraction. And people will say, well, brother, but you mean to tell me you're not affected by the Illuminati? Nope. Never have been, never will be. You know why? It's not that they exist or don't exist. It doesn't matter to me. Why doesn't it matter? Because all that matters to me is what I do to grow and become more powerful. That is all that matters to me. What the hell does the Illuminati have anything to do with me? Oh, brother, they control this. They're trying to kill you. This. If I if I stay out of that BS, I am able to focus on my world and I'm able to accomplish greater goals than ever before. They do not matter to me because I am creating my own world within this fake world that we've allowed to exist. We give them the power. We give people the power. The dark side is not about giving your power away. The dark side is about finding your power and keeping it for yourself. You know how quick people give their power away? We've been giving our power away since we were children. The minute you went to school, elementary school, you gave your power away. When you looked at the teacher as an authority figure and you cowered and caved to what is considered an authority figure and how you must behave in that environment. That was the very beginning of our indoctrination into this society after what our parents already indoctrinated us, and that's when they really got you. And they took that power away from you and have had it ever since. So how do you take it back? How do you take your power back from the power you gave to people your whole life? Stop feeding into their world and start creating your own world. Create your own existence. And you don't do that in the world they created. You don't do that using their paradigms. What do you mean? All right. For all my astrology buffs out in YouTube land, in conscious communities, and Wiccans and all this, so on and so forth. All right, let me explain something to you. People don't like myself for this one reason. Well, there's probably multiple reasons. I'm just using this one. I don't believe in astrology. I don't believe zodiac signs. I don't believe none of that shit. Well, how can you not believe in it? Don't the planets affect you? No, I don't fucking believe in none of that. What do you mean you don't believe in it? Exactly what I said. I determine my own existence. I therefore determine my personality. I therefore determine my behavior. I'm not going to let some external source, force, or descriptions tell me who and what I am. That's a problem to many people. Because then they can't define you. See, if I can't define you, shit, I can't control you. If I can't control you, I'm at a loss. So all the astrology buffs, when they bring that shit up to me, I don't care. The shit is irrelevant to me. Because in darkness, none of that shit matters. Oh, I'm not talking about the nighttime. Oh, you think I'm talking about nighttime? Oh, the moon is out. Oh, the stars. No, I'm not talking about that shit, yo. Because this is how they try to catch you. Oh, well, you don't believe astrology. Well, you do rituals in the moonlight. Bro, moonlight or no moonlight, I'm not doing a ritual because it's full moon. And oh, the full moon casts more energy, or the blood moon, all that shit is irrelevant to me. It doesn't matter. Why? Because all that matters to me is using the power of darkness to build my own power. Not power to control others, not power to do none of that. The power over myself. The power to overcome my weaknesses, the power to overcome my programming, and the power to overcome and undo what has been done. That's the power I refer to. And I cannot reach godhood or my apotheosis, reach self-deification, if I'm doing it within the paradigms that we currently exist within. This old paradigm has been in existence for thousands of years, and I'm still trying to do shit within their paradigm. It's not going to work, bro. You're using the same paradigm to try to raise yourself up to the level of a god within the same paradigm you were raised in, your parents were raised in, your great-grandparents, and so on and so forth. How's that work? How's that going to work? Because wherever you cut corners, wherever you try to shift, whatever route you try to take, if you're still within that paradigm, you still are subjected to the paradigm's beliefs, the paradigm's descriptions, so on and so forth. So how do you break it? you do a destruction and reconstruction ritual, which I'm currently working on for all the classes on Patreon, because I think it's time that we do a destruction, reconstruction ritual again. What does that mean? That means if you still have a Bible, Bible, if you still have a Bible and it's in your house, it's time for that to go. What do you mean? But my grandma gave it to me. And see, you see the programming came back in. My grandma gave it to me, so I can't get rid of it because sentimental things. Trust me, if your grandma's on the other side, she learning a lot of shit that she probably shaking her head and say, damn, why'd I give my granddaughter that shit, yo? That's binding her and still controlling her some way, somehow. There's some association with that still leaves that programming alive within her mind. Get rid of that Bible. And in a ritual like deconstruction and reconstruction, you burn that Bible, tear it up, cut it up, do what you have to do. Yeah, it seems crazy, seems harsh, but you got to understand, if you're going to start anew, if you're going to begin anew and become a new person, all old things must die, which may be even harder sometimes than doing shadow work. When you look around and say, shit, I should get rid of all this stuff, but what makes me still hold on to this stuff? What makes me still hold on to these things? And I'm not realizing how it's still binding me to this old paradigm. It's time to break free. So you break free by destroying all the things that you associated with most of your life when you step into a new path like the left-hand path. The path of self-mastery, self-deification. And to truly say, okay, I'm going to deify myself, I literally have to let go of all the things I believed beforehand. That mostly takes place in darkness, because when you sit in there in darkness in the ritual room, and it comes time after you meditated on the sigil and you sitting there in darkness, things start to come to your mind. You start to hear this inner voice speaking to you. You start to hear a lot of stuff of what you should do, shouldn't have done. I mean, what you didn't do. I mean, it goes on and on and on. But when you don't go into darkness, you keep alive this very light side programming, conditioning with borders, boundaries, limitations alive in your life to continue to keep you under a level of conditioning programming to control you. It's okay, but if you acknowledge that, okay, well then, man, maybe I am still programmed. That's step one. At least you acknowledge the fact that you still have some levels of programming conditioning that you should do something about. Then step two is start actually doing something about it. That's why most of the rituals we do is in the darkness. Because when you shut down the chaos of the world, the daylight, the job, the this and that, and you just sit there in pure darkness, you start to really hear a lot. And you'll start to really want to do something about it. But you have to shut down the BS of the day to do that. Your dark side power comes through the passion and desire you possess towards what goal you're trying to accomplish. If you lack passion or desire, you are less likely to accomplish fulfilling a goal. And there's no other way to really define how you turn on that passion. It has to be something within you. Something within you has to want to do more. It's not something that you just can like one day turn on. It has to be inside you already for you to turn it on. If it's not inside you, then you literally are a sheep and will remain a sheep the rest of your life. And therefore, that's why you have majority of people in society are sheep. They have no goals. They have what appears to be goals, but they're always within a construct that was given to them. So therefore, they walk around like sheep, zombies. They're really like zombies. They're all walking in one direction. They're all doing the same thing. They're all doing X, Y, and Z. You go to the mall, people are all looking at their phone, walking like zombies. They're bumping into each other and everything. Oh, sorry, excuse me. Oh, boom, boom, oh, sorry. Come on, man. No one looks up anymore. No one looks up anymore. That's the problem. Everybody's looking down at their phone. There is the world of control right here in your hands. Shut down social media for an hour a day till you could get 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. Learn to shut down the world. Learn to just focus on you and your mind. The power of you and your mind. The power to hear your thoughts. And then listen to what's being told to you. Because you will really do yourself a great service if you listen to yourself. You will really wake up when you start to listen to yourself. Not just hear yourself talk, blah, 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 but really listen to what your voice is telling you, what you should be doing. Not what you pretend to be doing, but what you should be doing. Shut out the BS and watch how you start to grow by leaps and bounds faster than ever. That doesn't mean you can't watch TV. That doesn't mean you can't do all that stuff. I'm not extreme like these extreme conscious fools who'll tell you, oh, shut out the world. Listen, fool, you can use anything and everything at your disposal to grow. It's just how you use it so it doesn't control you. You have control over it. These extremies, the reason why they're extreme is because they know they're weak. So therefore, they go super extreme to make it seem like they have control over their life and they have power. Those same people who tell you these extreme things are the same ones who easily give in to their temptations. Easily fall victim and prey to the very thing they're preaching against. Don't believe me? Look at how many conscious people have fallen victim to the very things they've been preaching against throughout the history of time, over and over. It happens. Gain the power of yourself and don't be afraid of your darkness. Don't be afraid of your rage. Understand your rage. And when you understand your rage, then you have power over your rage. Don't let your sexual hangups control you. Learn about the sexual hangups and overcome those sexual hangups so you can have a healthy sex life. Healthy is the key. Not go berserk, extreme, and lose all sense of anything. No, on a left-hand path, we indulge with restraint. What does that mean? Well, that means that you can enjoy sex as you choose, as you please, right? But you restrain because you have to understand that not everybody should be privileged to enjoy sex with you. You should be very selective of who you decide to engage with sexually. If they're not bringing something to the table besides just turning you on, making you horny and all this stuff, then you might not want to think twice before you engage with that person because they may be draining you more than you think you're about to drain them. That happens more often than not. In a vampiric sense, you have a lot of unconscious vampires who literally feed off of you more than you, who may be a conscious vampire, realize. They manipulate you. 1 minute, they're rude, they're nasty, argumentative, constantly belittling you, degrading you. Next minute, they pull the sympathy card, the pity party, and woe is me. And you know what? People fall victim to that crap too. Oh, what's wrong? Oh, you're not so bad. Listen, If a person pulls a pity party with me, I'm gonna tell them, listen, that pity party, go do that somewhere else. Because if you bring that pity party and you come with all the I'm woe is me and I'm such a bad person, I might be the kind to agree with you and say, yeah, you are an asshole. Yeah, you're full of shit. Yes, you might need to do something about that. Oh, I'm toxic for saying that. Because in today's world, this is what toxicity become. If I speak the truth about my truth and me standing up for myself, I'm toxic to you. No, I'm not toxic. Your ass is toxic for all this manipulation and abuse, mental abuse, and all the stuff you think you're getting away with. So if we enable that, and then we wake up to that, and then we come back and combat that, then you're the toxic person. No, you're not. You're doing yourself a service by waking up to that BS. That's really being in control and empowered. So you indulge, but with restraint. You learn to enjoy your life as you see fit without answering to anyone unless you have a partner. And even then, you guys should have some discussion and understanding what is and what isn't. And goals are always towards your development. On the left-hand path, as opposed to the right-hand path, we don't annihilate success. Right-hand path, everything's annihilating your ego, annihilating this. No, we understand the difference between the false ego and the true ego, but that will be another day, another class, another discussion, because I'm planning to do more and more of these bonus classes for all the Patreon, and some of them I'll put up on YouTube, depending how good the questions are, whatever else. But there is a difference between the false ego and the true ego. And the problem is that side, the right side, the light side wants to demonize your ego completely and annihilate it so you merge into something you really don't know if exists or can prove exists. We got to merge with oneness. Fuck you. You merge with oneness. I don't know what that shit is. Oh, you're so wrong. You're so evil, Ravana. You don't want to merge. You don't want to become one with the universe. Fuck the universe. I'll tell you why. It's you and I verse. You might not be in my verse, okay? So no, I'm not doing that with you. You can go float and merge with what you want. You could go hug some sky daddy, sky mama if you want. I'm not hugging that shit with you, okay? I'd rather hug the Pillsbury Doughboy and the Ghostbusters than hug that shit that people believe in. Anyways, that's another story. But the point is, the dark side is where you're going to find your power. The dark side combats the light side because the light side is what's been ruling this world for so long. And look at where it's gotten us. Look at the condition of this world today. It's not the light side. I mean, it's not the dark side that's poisoned this planet. It's not the dark side that's done all these things. You know, people are ridiculous when they say, oh, the Illuminati are Satanists. No, they're not. Illuminati's Luciferians. No, they're not. The Illuminati and these other darker elites are worshiping your God, Yahweh. Your sadistic, bloodthirsty, heinous, murder-inflicting God of your Bible. That's who they worship. They don't worship no Lucifer. Lucifer is not who they believe in. They believe in all of these coded gods within the word Yahweh, which then got translated into some Greek and some Latin as God. Nowhere in the Bible, the Quran, can you show me where the devil killed anyone, where Satan killed anyone. But I can show you 100 places where your God killed everyone. I could show you that. I could show you where your God killed the firstborn children of Egypt. Now, what kind of God do you worship again? Christians, Muslims, Hebrews. What kind of God do you worship that killed the firstborn children of Egypt? The firstborn son at that. Couldn't be all kids. It had to be the son, firstborn son. The devil didn't do that shit. Satan didn't do that. Shaitan didn't do that. Your God did that in your Bible, your Bible. But that's the God you worship. That's the God of love and light. This is what you're taught. But when you start really looking at those facts, yeah, Satan never killed anybody in the Bible. Not only that, God causes diseases and plagues and things of that nature. Go read your Bible again closely. So all these people who are saying, oh, Satan is the one that created Corona, you're a damn fool and a damn lie. If you stick to your biblical falsehood, it would be your God, Yahweh, or Yahweh Elohim, or El Elo, so on and so forth, who created Corona. Now go sip on that one. All right, anyways. Any questions? Please raise your hands. Any questions? Somebody, anybody, amen. Everybody just looking at me. William scratching his head. Demetrius still look like he a floating alien somewhere. All right, Tom Ray, there you go. Somebody sparked it.
I got to do it every time. But anyway,
yeah.
Not so much a question, but it's just a point of reference. When you were talking about people using the destruction reconstruction ritual to get rid of the Bible, just from my personal growth and the stuff I've been doing, I've been trying to declutter and get rid of as much possession as possible. You do not have an idea how much of a hold your things have on you, these inanimate objects have on you, until you start trying to throw them away.
That's fact.
You will have it in your hand, ready to donate, throw away, or whatever. And I promise you, you will turn back around. It'll be back in your house because you're like,
that's fact.
Well, I can use it for this. No, throw that shit the fuck away.
That's fact.
It is harder than you think.
Yeah, you know what those people become? Hoarders. They're hoarders, damn it. But anyways, listen. Not only that, brother. The hold that these objects have on us is also debilitating to your growth. Even on the left-hand path, it's debilitating to your growth. Why? Because so many people rely on their altar on the left-hand path that when they're not in front of their altar, they feel they have no power or control over their existence. So everything they do is in front of an altar. But as myself, as Beniti, and a lot of others have always said on the left-hand path, you are the altar. You are the altar. Everywhere you go, you are creating or destroying. Everywhere you go is a perfect time to do a ritual in the moment. If you're facing a situation where you feel yourself getting agitated, heated, and you want to haul off on someone, and you think twice about it and say, maybe, should I, possibly, that means you're starting to grow. Because in the past, you might have literally just ripped into that person. But by the fact you start thinking in the moment, that's a working, living, in the moment ritual. That is the most effective of rituals. Those in the Sith class understand that. They understand the power of the dark side, and they understand that every living moment is a moment for you to grow and become more powerful. That every moment you are literally either in control or you're being controlled. As I was taught years ago, your behavior is about you. Their behavior is about them. But here's the additional bonus to that. If you give in to someone's behavior, they now become your master. You become their servant, and they can literally manipulate you and affect you any which way they want to in a situation, and you will be at their mercy. What does that mean? That means you should always be the master over self. And to be the master over self, you must have faced a lot of things about yourself that you now have to have power over. That's the problem. This is why in the Sith code, we say, my chains are now broken. When you gain victory over yourself, my chains are broken. Whether the chains are from society, whether it's from conditioning or programming, or even self-created chains. Your chains are broken when you literally become victorious over yourself because you've done the work to master your weaknesses. Because you best believe there's always someone out there trying to find your weakness to use against you. So if you master most of your weakness, there's very little that individual has to go on to try to control you, manipulate you, and make you bow to their whims. That is the secret to the dark side. That is the power of the dark side. Understanding your power. And it all begins with your passion, with your desires. That's the key to your growth in the dark side. Not the light side, the false side. You know, I could use the comparison between Jedi and Sith, and the Jedi will tell you there is no emotion, there's only peace. Fuck out of here. That's some fucking real spooky ass shit. It's real spooky shit. Because as a human being, you're always in energy. The word emotion literally is energy in motion. There's not a time in your life when you're not either affecting energy around you, through you, or being affected by it. So to think that there is no emotions is to fool yourself to think that you're a robotic, artificial intelligence, human or no longer human being. You are a passionate being. And by you having passion, you can then begin the journey on the dark side. That passion is key for everything. It must awaken your very soul. If you don't go in front of your altar in a moment, in a situation in your life, and feel your passion arise for your growth, for your transformation, I can't and do not know what to tell you, and no one else will not know what to tell you. You have to have some kind of passion for something in your life. You have to be passionate about something. Your desire has to be there. If you are if you passionless or desireless, there's not much anything or anybody could do for you. So ask yourself tonight, when we finish here, do you really have passion for self-mastery, for you to become the master over your life, for apotheosis, your self-deification? Are you passionate about that? Or is it just something you're doing?
It took me over a year and almost a year and a half of doing constant shadow work for me to finally say I have passion about something. Because for the longest time, if somebody asked me that question, I would actually look at them confused. Sometimes for some people, it's buried. You may think, oh, I want to do this, want to that, but then honestly, you're just doing it because you think you want to. You think you like it. Mm-hmm. When you have genuine passion for something, that's something you will run through 100 people, fist blazing to get what you want. You will stare down anything to get what you want. When you finally hit that moment, then you found something to be passionate about. And until then, it's like you said, you can't really describe it. Because before that, there was a bunch of stuff I thought I wanted. I thought I wanted to do this or do that or be this or be that. None of it clicked and none of it stayed. That's fine. Now I actually have a passion for something, and now my life is finally moving forward. So that's true, brother. Passion is everything.
That's correct, brother. That's correct. Appreciate that. All right, Demetrius, I see your hand up. Go ahead, brother.
Oh, there we go. Ha!
Yes.
One of the things you mentioned about doing destruction and reconstruction ritual, I like that concept. I do have an idea for like the comedic vampirism, but I'll get up with you probably, if possible, briefly after this, just for a quick second, just to drop that seed.
Okay.
But as far as you were talking about weaknesses and whatnot, oh yeah, you also can use your weaknesses as bait.
Mm-hmm.
Bait your enemies. You know, don't get angry, don't get upset. I catch myself in that sometimes too, because I can get into rages. I'm surprised I haven't killed anybody in this lifetime.
Yeah.
But to just allow them to feed on that weakness, lure them in. Because look at nature. Nature does this. Alligator snapping turtle uses his tongue like a little worm.
Yep.
So it baits the fish to come in, and then pop, he has them.
Yep.
You can do the same thing. This is this is dayside vampirism at its best. I mean, if any of you work in an office, because I do, it is a great place to work your magic. Wonderful place.
That's right.
Wonderful place to also watch shadow work in action. As people get into their modes and their spaces, sit back and watch the interplay, and then you connect and start destroying certain things, your aspects of it, your parts of it,
Yep.
and then relax and let it go and watch as creation unravels and recreates around you. It's pretty neat to watch. It fucks with the other people because they can't explain what's happening. Where I work at, most everybody is Christian.
Mm-hmm.
Good people though. They've been passing this COVID shit around to each other. I tested positive and had no symptoms, and they could not figure out why.
That's true. That's true.
So
brother.
they can speak in tongues and blood of whatever until the cows come home. They will never understand why.
That's right. That's a fact. Yeah.
So work your craft, use it at work. To me, that is the best place to do your dayside work. Is if you have a job somewhere or you're in an office situation, that is the best place to work that.
That is always the best place. Is in your work environment and other places, but we'll discuss that another time.
Yeah.
All right. Appreciate you, brother.
All right.
All right, Necro, I see you. You next, brother.
Can you hear me?
Yep, got you, brother.
Good. I just wanted to touch bases and say, like, I've been doing a lot of clearing out, and just as what you have been speaking on, the stuff that used to trigger me doesn't trigger me anymore. Now I look at it from a different perspective, or if I know what angle that they're coming from, then I'm able to quickly deflect it or do something else in regards to it versus, it would make me mad or I would automatically get irritated behind it. Now, it's like, is it really worth my energy getting irritated by this? And then once, I'll stop and ask myself that question, for me, that instantly automatically redirects what was normally going to trigger me. It stops it right then and there because I'm questioning myself first versus just automatically getting wrapped up. I'm controlling my emotions more versus allowing my emotions to control me, and then me getting to those situations. Just like even with me clearing out a bunch of old stuff here in the house, which has had old vibrations on it. Now that I've been clearing that out, like my space is much more cleaner. I'm able to do more in regards to my ritual work. Like it doesn't feel like it's so heavy because I've been clearing stuff out. And then I've been, like I said, I've just been looking at stuff of what's been triggering me or how I would react to stuff and just change it up completely. So that way, I'm growing within my work. Because you're right, like if you still react the same way, even if you doing the ritual and other stuff like that, and you're still acting the exact same way, or you're still triggered within the same manner, it means you ain't did no growth. You literally sitting in the same spot. You thinking that you made some growth, but you actually didn't. It's when you get to that point where what would trigger you and you stop yourself right then and there before you even act upon it. That, for me, that lets you know that you had growth, because you're stopping yourself. Then you're going to question yourself to see exactly how you're going to deal and assess the situation. Once you're doing that, then you're on the, for me, then you're on the road to self-mastery, because you're able to control your emotions, which you're able to control your thoughts, in which then, and on a certain degree, you're able to control, you know, that experience of what you're having. True enough, you can't control the experience somebody else is having. You can influence it in regards to how you're dealing with the situation, but that'll like throw people, like it's throwing people off, because you're like, you're not triggered by that. Nah, that doesn't bother me anymore, because I accept it for what it is. I know where it's coming from, and I know my worth in regards to the situation. I'm not going to lower myself down to have that experience when I can just not have that experience at all. And then that's usually leaving them in an area to where they're in complete disarray, because what they originally wanted to do to me, or, you know, put me within a certain segment of what reality that they created, I'm not participating in it anymore, and it's like driving them nuts. And in the same instance to where it's driving them crazy, and they're like, their energy spewing out all over the place, I can easily just feed off of that, because I counteracted what they were, you know, trying to direct at me. Now I can feed off of them. Now they're all tired, wore out, and everything else, because what they were trying to do to me is not happening. And now they're just expelling out more energy trying to figure it out. And I'm to a point, I'm not going to allow you to figure it out, because I've gotten to where I can hold a very blank face, or I can have a smile on my face, and you would know, like, underneath, to where at first it might have triggered me, and I'm sizzling, like I'm pissed off, but then I'm dissipating the energy, because I'm like, there's really no point for me to even cultivate that energy. They're triggering me so that way they can feed off of my energy, in which I understand that. So let me go ahead and counteract that. And I'm sitting here with a smile on my face, calculating all of this, and I'm like, you're not reacting. What's going on? Like, eyes get big, like you can see the chest starting to move, the energy starting to accumulate, and everything else. Like, when you really are paying attention to the work, you can see that stuff, and then you just tap right on into their chakra points and start drawing out that energy, and sitting there still with just a smile on your face, not doing anything, and they're drained afterwards. So yeah, you really are right in regards to, you can see exactly where you are within doing the actual work, and not this light side shadow work that's been in the communities and stuff. Because yeah, they talk a big, so, oh, you got to go in and do shadow work. You're not actually facing your traumas, your past issues, and other stuff of what you have, which would make you feel very uncomfortable at that moment, to actually face it, deal with it, accept it as a part of yourself, that it actually helped you to cultivate you to the person of who you are today, so that way you won't have said experiences, and then go back and rewrite that experience, so that way you can be a better person for yourself. If you ain't doing that, you ain't doing no real shadow work. And they'll usually stop talking to me at that point, but I'll go ahead and regress.
That's facts, brother. And something that's good that you said, though, and I'm gonna say this for everybody in YouTube land and everybody in Patreon: if you are, in fact, doing shadow work, walking the left-hand path, you should never, ever feel comfortable. This path is to always and shall always make you feel uncomfortable. The minute you feel too comfortable and you feel like, oh, I'm at peace and everything's so calm and peace, love, and light, you're in the wrong part of life. This path is always going to make you feel uncomfortable. It's always going to be bringing you through a state of flux. And that is something people have to remember. If you feel that you're looking for comfort, maybe you should go walk, talk, and hang out with Jesus, because this ain't the place for you. You have to get accustomed to the idea that I'm always going to feel uncomfortable. I'm always going to be challenged. As a matter of fact, if you're not challenging yourself, what are you doing? Because on the left-hand path, everything's about challenging yourself. So if you feel uncomfortable in doing some work, if you feel uncomfortable about challenging yourself or facing a situation that you know you have to, and you don't, then you're repeating the same pattern you have before you even came to the left-hand path. This is the path you will challenge yourself and face yourself every step of the way. That's why there's different methods and techniques in each class. For example, in the Sith classes, I have 14 challenges in the first level of the Sith. And those 14 challenges were purposely created to challenge your mind, your spirit, your soul, every part of you. Because one thing we don't do too often is challenge ourselves. If you're in a situation you feel very uncomfortable, you might want to stop and think, maybe I do need to face this and go through it instead of running from it like I've always done. Because that moment of uncomfortability is exactly what you need to grow. It's exactly what you need to face. If you always feel like you got to be comfortable, I got to always, have it just this way and that, then that's why you're not growing. That's why you're still in the same lot in your life as you were when you were a teenager. There's no change in you. You're stagnant. Always challenge yourself. Always. That is the key on this path. Always challenge yourself. Therefore, when others challenge you outside of yourself, you're very prepared for that. You're so prepared that you're the one that is the master in that situation. You're the one that's in control. You're the one that's the predator and they're the prey, as opposed to the other way around. Unfortunately, too much in this society, most people are prey and very few are predators. Spiritual predatorism is essential and has always been essential on this planet that we currently reside in. And therefore, this is why you have people who reach the level of mastery, who reach the level of becoming very powerful sorcerers or sorceresses, witches, or whatever you want to label these things at. This is why some get there and others don't. Because those people understand the real science of spirituality. It ain't being all peace, love, and light. It ain't about fluffiness. It ain't about super overly compassion. It's none of that. What it is about is you and you alone facing, mastering yourself, and becoming more powerful and greater than you have ever been before. If you're not looking at yourself day to day, week to week, and asking yourself, how have I changed from this week to last week? What's different about me? If you can't pinpoint that there is at least one thing different about you, you might want to face yourself again and keep facing yourself again until you notice the change. And please do not go running down the street, yelling to everybody, I've changed. You know how many times people do that? I've changed so much. No, you haven't, because you want me to co-sign with you by you telling me constantly I've changed, and that's not true. If I got to convince you that I've changed by telling you 9 times in a row, then that means you necessarily did not change. You're trying to convince me of that, because your actions should show that you've changed, not your words. Too many times people talk, their actions don't follow suit. All right, so any other questions before we wrap it up? No? All right, so next week we'll begin the classes again, back to back to back to back. All right, so we get ready for next week. We're gonna have a good old time next week, and new rituals will be coming down the line for just about every class, including the darkest shadow work class and everything in between. Sith class for all 3 levels of the Sith class. The power of death is not just the class, it's going to be rituals too that come with that. So I shall see you guys. Bye-bye.